Hi, I'm Ms. Kindness Ramirez, founder and CEO of Club Kindness.
I'm Samantha Montanaro, co-founder of Tokeativity.
And I'm Lisa Snyder, the other co-founder of Tokeativity. And together, we are the creators of Bridges, a conversational series about race, equity, and inclusion.
It was, I think, late summer 2020 when Lisa and I had a conversation discussing frustrations that we had been experiencing in the community and beyond. We had a heart-centered discussion around so many things. It was tough, but it was real. We came to the immediate realization that as leading women in cannabis, with Club Kindness and Tokeativity, we could be a force in real change if we wanted to. Bridges was born.
It was born from pain, but with pure intention to create change. Relationships are the base of our lives, and it became clear that so many have a desire for connection, but don't know how to navigate challenging conversations like these.
When the ladies called me to discuss the project, I was beyond stoked because if you're like me, you want to create real solutions. You want to dream beyond the current walls and scheme up something new. Something magical and something better for humanity. If we're going to break down these archaic patriarchal systems of oppression, we have to find new ways of breaking into this new era together. Through the discomfort, through the anger, trauma, grief, and pent-up energy that is so ready to be healed. Healing is possible.
Ashe, sister. You know, Bridges is not for everyone. In fact, it's for a very specific audience. It's for people who care deeply about racial justice and the multitude of crises currently facing communities of color, especially in relation to the war on drugs in America. It is for those who understand just how much work there is to do and for those who are ready to do it. Bridges is for people, women, allies, and everyone who want to heal and repair our society. Because in our view, if it affects one of us, it affects all of us.
We created this series to build bridges with our peers, our community members, and those we have yet to meet. We feature brave women and bridge makers on these panels, seeking to develop conversational tools needed for real alignment that work to remove barriers in our relationships. Our ultimate goal is to help others create stronger relationships and be active participants in the healing and forward movement of our society.
During the live recordings, the Bridges panelists lean into some very challenging topics, facilitating compelling discussions, and the program encourages women and allies to submit anonymous questions before and actually during the experience. We work to provide an environment of conjoinment and a desire for growth.
Yes, absolutely. And in these conversations, we address some complex issues like race, equity, tokenism, Black history, racial politics, mental health, and so much more, while working behind the scenes to provide valuable resources for continued study, professional, and personal development.
There is so much work to do.
And we're ready to do it.
Yes, we are. And we want to invite you to join us as we build bridges. And we want to thank you for your support.
So this is Bridges, and it is an event series where we'll be having conversations about race, equity, and inclusion. Today's topic is tokenism, inclusivity, and opportunity. And I am joined by three amazing women who I do consider friends and sisters in the space. I do want us to just take a minute, though, before we go into this conversation. I introduce the panelists to really get grounded where we are, get comfortable in our seats, and focus on our own breath.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this experience. It's so necessary. My name is Andrea Drummer. I've been in the cannabis space since 2012, first co-founder of Elevation VIP, which is a cooperative that specializes in elevated cuisine.
Yes, hi guys. My name is Dr. Tiffany Bowden. I'm a diversity consultant and cannabis consultant as well. I've been a TEDx speaker. I've been in an inclusion space for probably about 20 years. I'm very happy to be here, to be able to share this experience with you. And thank you all for coming out to do this work together.
I am Tiffany Watkins. I am the founder of Vanguard Magazine, which is a platform for women in the cannabis space. I've been in cannabis for almost 3 in total decades. And through activism and everything in between then and now, pretty much.
I want to talk about this word tokenism, tokenization first, right? I think before we can get into any discussions around the nuances, we have to kind of settle on a definition. And so I'll read what Webster says. It's the practice of doing something, such as hiring a person who belongs to a minority group, only to prevent criticism and give the appearance that people are being treated fairly.
It's the simplest kinds of things that make you feel included and not tokenized. The question of, what do you think, Tiffany? Or what do you think, Dr. Bowden? It's like, oh, so you actually addressed me as Dr. Bowden and you asked me what I think.
I just want to say that I have to interject because I'm almost in tears over here thinking about you actually describing being treated as a human. And I want to make sure that is real clear. I need to step in here and I need to make sure everybody watching and listening is hearing that she's not describing a privilege. I'm sorry, I needed to just,
but privilege that is to be able to show up and just be you. Show up and not have to worry about, well, did I have my hair right? Did I have my clothes right? Because I need to go into, a store, or I need to go just something casual. We're not going to take it away from the boardroom. Just being casually you.
What is the legacy of tokenism?
I think the legacy is racism, and it starts there, and then we move into integration, and that word widely used, tolerance, right? And so, and then, then there's also the legacy of affirmative action. So I'm going to make you accept some Black and brown people.
I'd love to add to that. Tokenism, it's the other word for slavery.
I'm exploring this languaging of opportunity versus tokenism, and is it, and I don't know the exact answer now, but I think perhaps we should relanguage, like versus an opportunity, like I'm giving you this thing and you should feel grateful for, my gifting. It should be a shared experience.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. I'm really excited to be back for the second Bridges. This is, like Lisa said, a conversational event series about fostering collaboration and healing. And in this first phase, our discussions are centered around race, equity, and inclusion. But the topic for today's talk, this evening's talk, is specifically Black history and intergenerational wealth. We created the series to build bridges and to develop tools we need for real collaboration. And today we're going to feature two amazing, brave women and fellow bridge makers. And I'm honored to be joined by Khadija Adams and Tiffany Sharp today. And in a moment, these two ladies, they're going to join me on the stage. And we're going to start to embark upon a discussion that I hope inspires each of you to further affect change in your families, in your businesses, and in your communities.
I wanted to thank supporters and sponsors, Vanguard Magazine, Kissing Lions, This Is Jane Project, and Black Cannabis, as well as EBK Apothecary. Without your support, we would not be able to do this. So we really appreciate your support in making this happen and for spreading the word.
Well, thank you, Khadija, because I love to hear stories of particularly Black women just, bulldozing through the barriers and walls, So it's a pleasure and honor to get to hear your story. I'm Tiffany Sharp. I'm here in Sacramento, California. I'm an attorney. Like Khadija, I too am allergic to bosses.
How have each of you interfaced with your challenges despite being Black women, or because of, or encouraged by? How have you incorporated your Black womanhood into your success?
Well, I'll let Tiffany go first.
Because this is a point that will weave throughout every conversation we have in this Bridges series. And as we talk with Black women, this is common. This sort of white speak or this Black speak. Code switching came up in the last discussion, and then we talked about just putting that down and not having to code switch because I'm showing up as exactly who I am.
That's absolutely right. Now, So just as some background, my parents are from the South, and they are very into education. My mother was an English teacher, so like I sound like this.
I talk to my plants this way too. Oh my goodness. This is Zizi and this is Tops. I actually name my plants.
Once I began to re-educate myself, once I learned the meat and potatoes of the war on drugs and what that was all about, once I began to just come into reality, right? Then I said, okay, well, what do I bring and how do I show up as a Black woman? I show up as a Black woman to re-educate my community. You know, we suffered the most because of this industry prior, during prohibition and things of that nature. So why wouldn't we benefit the most? And so I think it's a timely discussion.
Well, why shouldn't we? Well, we can talk about why we wouldn't, right? But why shouldn't we?
And the reason I say re-educate is because we've already been educated with lies. And the reason I say re-educate is because we've already been educated with lies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now it's time to re-educate our community about how and why it became illegal in the first place. What happened in that span? It's more than just, they criminalized marijuana. No, what they did was they put our men in jail, in prison. They took them out of the household. Not only did they put them in prison, right? Not only did they put them in prison, but when they got out of prison, they couldn't even vote.
Okay, Khadija, you're taking us there. So here we go. Let's go back in history.
This history goes back 100 years, right? The history of marijuana prohibition, and even the history surrounding why we call it marijuana versus cannabis, why it's called and the term using cannabis now, right. How it's this sort of whitewashing of that
many people just don't know what we're talking about.
Okay.
So I want everyone to be taking notes on this. I want everyone to be writing down Anslinger, write down Mellon, think about Hearst. You need to do some of this research because we are going to give you these nuggets, okay? But we are not going to do all of the work for you.
It took them 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Do you understand that? 90 seconds to criminalize cannabis.